Oh my gosh. So I've gone through so many iterations of this. I put it on note cards. And then I did a little bit of, I wrote it on the computer and I said, screw it, I can't do it. Because I didn't want it to interrupt my flow. So what's worse than interrupting my flow is having done it all. So you know what? I'm going to give it to God and here we go. So 28 years. It's not a lie. I'm not asking anybody how old they are, but I can pretty much assure you, obviously I've been here longer than you've been alive. That has been a tremendous honor, privilege, and it's very scary. It's very scary because obviously as one grows old, but it's also really scary because I'm not an alumni from here. I didn't go to school here, but there is a deep love for this place. My parents still ask me, how's school? I don't know. I haven't been in the classroom since 1989. I didn't like it so much then, but I don't know. But the education that happens here happens like no other place. It happens like no other place because of all that you get outside of the classroom. Because you live here all the time. Oh yeah, you go to class. So the power of what happens here is the power that happens in here and then in the classroom. It's nothing you really want to tell your faculty about because they're pretty sensitive about the, academic engagement and climate. So I was sitting around the table when Joan McGinnis Wagner, many of you might know her, many of you don't, she just recently retired. She was here 25, right? So her and I are about the same. I'm much younger. But she came to us. She came to student development and she said, here's this idea that we got from Boston College. What do you all think? I'm like, this sounds fabulous, right? She's like, we're gonna have students come and be a part of a conversation about people's faith lives and the challenges that help them grow and be the good people that they are. What a great idea. I can't wait to see who they're gonna ask. She asked me, that's not what I meant. That's not what I thought. Because she talked about this concept of coming out the other side. What's the challenge? What's the thing that happened that made you who you are? That made you stronger in your faith and Christ-like? What brought us closer in our relationship with Jesus Christ? I'm pretty cool. I grew up in the middle of suburbia, Royal Oak, Michigan. Anyone from Michigan? Woo! Oh, sweet. Where are you from?
Kalamazoo.
Yay. Where are you from?
But
Yeah.
Plymouth, which is like.
Don't tell me where Plymouth is. I know, girl. I got you.
We have the hand.
Yeah, you have to get the hand up. Who else was from Michigan? Yeah.
Grand Rapids.
Oh, Grand Rapids. That's right. Ada. Yeah, my college roommate. Okay, anyone else? So, I grew up in this really cool little town. And let me tell you, I had the Brady Bunch and I didn't know it. My siblings and all, we fought, we loved each other, we loved each other. My brother's 9 years older than me, so I was kind of the only child and the youngest, score. I was really very healthy. I didn't have juvenile diabetes. My parents stayed married. I didn't even we all went to this nice little Catholic school, and I walked to school. Was that a hardship? Sometimes. I can talk about a little bit of being a fat kid my whole life, but that kind of might not be all that challenging. I went to a great high school. I went to a great college. I'm a double alum. I got nothing. I'm married. I'm not divorced. I have a great healthy pre-teenager. I guess that's kind of a challenge, right? Or it's about to be a bigger one. I have nothing. So I say, oh, Joan, because who says no to Joan McGinnis Wagner?
Nobody.
Right? Oh, Joan. So I got real quiet. Maybe she'll forget. Joan writes back, Chris, hello. I don't mean to pressure you. So I made her feel bad. Ugh, that's even worse. The woman's half out the door and I'm making her feel bad. All right, I'll do it. What am I going to do? I'm blessed. I can joke about it all I want, but the truth is, I'm blessed. The hardships in my life, my parents worked, my grandparents from Lebanon, my parents from Detroit, my father who's a World War II vet. I got nothing. So I thought maybe I'll make something up. Y'all don't know. My mother has an incredible story she tells about how the Blessed Mother came to her and told her, you will marry my father. It's an incredible story. At first you're like, okay, was Marion blue? But she tells this really beautiful story of the power of prayer. Okay. Now, Virgin Mary had nothing to do with me getting married, I don't think. Because it was all my brawn that said, when are we doing this? My husband's back there. Okay, I don't know if I can extort a story like that. My sister has an amazing story about how when she was in high school, she was hit by a car. When she flew through the air, she's down, she sees the light. No kidding. She starts walking toward the light, and who does she see? She sees Jesus. She tells this incredible out-of-body experience. My sister died in that street. And she was resuscitated by the firemen and the EMTs, whoever they had back in the 70s. And she talks about, I just wanted to go to Jesus. I saw his feet, and I want to go pray to him. And when she came to, they were the firemen's boots. Now, she was mad as hell. She was like, oh, my God, I was in a much better place. And then she came to, and she was in pain, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, that's a cool story. That's a story of my sister's faith life changed at that moment. I hadn't got nothing. I had nothing like that. And again, I can't blatantly lie. I was tempted. So how do I make a story that's mine? We see student after student who tells an incredible story of whatever their trials and tribulations were. That's what college life is all about. It's so cool. You meet these people and they tell you their stories. Their stories of depression or their anxiety or whatever they tell their story. And sometimes we're like, I don't know if did I miss something? Our parents have worked so hard. It doesn't matter what generation we are, millennials, X, Z, whatever. What's happened, our parents took a broom and they swept to make sure we didn't have those challenges that they might have had. I'm blessed. So as I'm sitting here, laying here in the bed, or on my knees going, oh my gosh, I think I figured out. I may not have had these challenges, but what I've had and the opportunities that I've had from mostly college on is to work to be a blessing to other people. So my big blessing theory, which, oh my God, I just want you to know I had nothing to do with that poster. I put it on my Facebook. Sorry, Kaylee, not sorry. My mother goes, look how skinny you look. Former fat girl, what are you doing, Mom? Anyway, and my mother's 91, so she's like, so my big blessing theory is, so let me give you the core of it. So here I stand, here I am on my knees, knowing what I've got, and that is a blessed life. How can I be a blessing to others? How can I be good company to those on a journey that is one of challenge, that is one of trial and tribulation? God calls us to be there with each other. So where do we turn? We turn to each other. To be a blessing is a blessing. We can talk about it being privilege. I'm very privileged. I'm very privileged. I don't get me wrong, I've worked real hard for it. We didn't come from wealth, but I didn't come from poverty either, thanks to my parents. But how I figured it out, and I don't know if I did, I became an RA. I was about to hear the collegiate geek in me. I became an RA. I was a graduate student. I decided, I walked into college going, this is just what everyone does, right? And my senior year, I'm like, oh, it's my senior year. I better stop changing my major. So I became a communication major. Any communication majors, God bless you. I'm sure it's a calling. But I had to pick something, right? So my advisor's like picking this and picking that, and voila, we stirred it up, and it came out a communication major. I didn't figure it out till I was a senior. But what I figured out when I was in college is I was making a difference. And my difference was being in the face of challenges that weren't mine, that were trying to be good company to people who might not have had the same blessings as I have, or might have the same blessings and they don't know it. So we work with the challenges, and what we know is we can help lighten the load. So I decided my senior year to go get my master's in college student personnel. I like this RA thing. Maybe I can make a living of it. And how you ended up making a living of it is standing in the presence of what's really raw. I was never, God, thank you, I was never a victim of sexual assault. I've never been a victim of a horrific crime. But I have walked with those that have, to where I could figure out what my blessing is that I haven't been through it, but I can be good company to you. So you can't talk about this stuff without talking a little bit about boundaries, especially all at our age. There's a significant difference between empathy and sympathy, right? One, you're sympathetic, you can understand what somebody's going through, and then there's empathy when perhaps you've been there through it yourself. So both can be true in a situation, and only so perhaps one can be. You can have sympathy for someone. I can have sympathy for someone who'd been through something. And the notion that happens in those exchanges when you're working to be a blessing is to understand the sympathy, but also understand the concept that how can I help them and it not be about me? You know what's so crazy to me? Actually, one of my colleagues' friends talked to me about her little girl who's like in 5th grade. And she was telling me about how there is this thing that they have to do about whose life is worse. Like, can you see 5th graders? I had more homework than you did, and then I couldn't watch TV. Or, oh my gosh, my phone didn't work. Or, my parents are fighting. I mean, there's almost this kind of, because this, competition. And what we haven't done is we haven't built resilience. We haven't, I'm always pleased, I know this is going to sound terrible, when I get the first year student in front of me who's in a million pieces because they got their heart broken. Somebody broke up with them. And it's really hard, especially that first one. But because there hasn't been that sense of resilience, somebody's cleaned up before them, for their path. They haven't had the opportunity to have that challenge. And it's devastating. But because whether I had the relationship or not, I can offer that support. I can offer what they might need, while at the same time understanding it's not about me. You don't have to have that experience, but enough to know I'm going to help you carry that load, but I'm not going to own it. So with the blessings come our responsibility. And the responsibility is a great one. Because you don't have to, at the end of the day, make a lot of money. You don't have to go work at a soup kitchen. You don't have to work to try to be anything more than you are, anything more than good company. So if you choose to go to El Salvador this summer, you are clearly being a blessing to somebody who needs it. But I'm challenging you to say you don't need to do that. You can do that on your floor. And it might be as simple as being that blessing and telling the RA that something's gone awry. Or calling me, or getting involved with their group of friends to say, I'm really nervous about what's going on. You don't have to make a lot of money. That's why I can stand up here today and tell you, I don't make a lot of money. I don't sleep either. To be a blessing. I don't know what any of you all want to do. I didn't know at 18 or at 21, and I kind of was holding my breath off the deep end when I was doing my master's program. You don't need to know. But what you do need to know, because you will find yourself in it. You will find yourself in a blessing. To be the blessing. Because that's where you'll find yourself. That's where Jesus tells us he finds himself, in community. That's why this place is like no other. Because we learn in community, we teach in community, we talk in community. We're in drama in community. I love it. There's a camera. I love it. Right? The president's coming, right? Yeah. Does he see? I've like met the man a couple of times. It's like, hey. So in that community, that's where we find ourselves. And that's where we find out what our greatest calling is. So, I got a few minutes. I thought, they said that, any questions? I don't know if you have any questions, but I do want to say, I want to hear about your experience here. I want to hear about does this make sense? This is where you live your lives, and this is the place that's most important to me. How you live your life here directly affects me, or affects you when I get involved. I want to know. I have, with my experience here, so I'll tell you a little bit about this. So with my experience here, it's been a crazy ride. Our Mary Crest was all women when I got here. Founders was all men. Stewart was all men. There was so much drama in Mary Crest. There was so much fighting going on in Stewart and Founders. We could do coffee talk. We could change it to coffee talk. They had 3 channels. ABC, NBC, and so what else are y'all going to do but fight? The student neighborhood was far different than it was. I did live out there, and it always made me nervous when I smelled the smoke. Those were a long time ago. But I want you to know what makes me so proud of this place is I was actually part, and I wish Father Chris Whitman was here, because he would be rolling his eyes at me, because he and I go toe to toe. Visitation, can't do it anymore. We got to have men and women live together. how else can they be involved with each other and learn from each other? How do we be a blessing to be a blessing? If we're not knowing each other or learning from each other. Because that's the real life. And gosh, let's get Cable. Cable was a little selfish. I had lived in Campus South. Maggie's mother lived in Garden Apartments. I lived on 1911 Trinity. I lived on 15 Evanston. I always tell the fellows, back off, 10 years. You can tell me about living in the neighborhood at your 10th anniversary. What I don't understand when I say that is I think it makes me look a little pathetic. They're like, oh, you realize you're just saying you've lived in the neighborhood for... I tried to talk my husband into it when he asked me to marry me. I said, hey. He said no. He says, if these disembodied screams is not very calming. So I'm like, screams? What? And then I realized, yeah, a lot of woo! People knocking on the door, can I use your bathroom? Oh, yeah, it's nobody, honey. So there isn't anything more that I have to share because I'm so blessed. There isn't anything more than not being asked to the prom, than not being able to fit in a prom dress. We'll talk about that later. There isn't anything more except how we live with each other and how we can be there for each other. Not to where I own it, but enough for me to be there for you. That's why I stand here today as the Dean of Students. I became a dean probably because I didn't really think about it. No, I look at my husband. I became a dean because I don't know any other way than to be involved up in here. To be with that student, as Elizabeth and I talked about, to be with that student who lost both their parents in a tornado. To be with that student who was sexually assaulted as they try to find their power, as they're trying to figure out why. To be there for that parent that lost a student because somebody was stupid enough to set fire to toilet paper. To be there with that student when they get their heart broken for the first time when it should have happened in 7th grade. My son is in 7th grade. I'm still waiting for him to tell me. He's like, no, Mom, I don't like anybody. I know. I fell off the turnip truck. When social media becomes more about the media than the social, I sit here knowing it's devastating people as we talk. To be with them and helping them try to put perspective. Sometimes we don't do each other a favor by carrying the load too much. And that's when I ask that you get help too. That's why I became a dean. It's because I figured it out somewhere. I just didn't know I figured it out until Joan said, hey, what you doing September 12th? So, what do you got?
You were talking about resilience.
Mm-hmm.
Was there like a first case of something where you just didn't think you could do it? I mean, like the first sexual assault case or the first moment when you're like, I can't be a blessing.
Right, because tomorrow, it's going to happen tomorrow. Yeah. I think I was in Campus South. I was 23, 24. I used to be the youngest person on staff. Those were forever. Now I'm the oldest. It's crazy. Anyway, I used to be the youngest. So it was something as I had a couple of residents being complete jackets. They're telling me one story and I understand something else had happened. And holding that line about what I know what was going on in terms of that room, knowing on what's happening with that RA who's like, they're killing me. I need your support. And having to call someone out on them, on their fibbing. Okay, lying. We lie in college, right? We don't fib anymore. And I knew, because there's no bigger stumbling block to community than dishonesty. The cornerstone is always that of honesty. And getting to that honesty might mean you have to deconstruct that lie and all that's built around it. And that can be you can be pretty naked in that. So I do remember, and I had a great boss. She was incredible. She's in so many reasons I stand on her shoulders. She doesn't work here anymore. So she's like, oh yeah, you'll figure it out. So I did. I went back to her and I said, okay, here's my plan. She goes, you can be upset about it, but give me a plan for us to work on together so I can help you. I'm not going to give you the answer. So that would be. But tomorrow, there's always, I always say, I thought I saw it all until something happens. And then I don't. And then I start from scratch.
How do you know where the line is between carrying someone's burdens and carrying it with them?
Of course.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. And then, how did you figure that out? And then, I guess my question was, did your faith life take a part in, being able to distinguish those?
My faith life was the problem at first.
Okay, yeah. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, my faith was a problem because all of this junk, and I mean it, all of this junk that tells us what does it mean to be Christian, what does it mean to be Catholic, and that means you got to, carry that cross just as much. So that gets trippy, right? That gets in the way. And I'll tell you how it gets in the way is when they keep coming back. When your answer, your assistance, your really good idea, your best connections continue to not be a solution. You're not going to solve the person's problems, but what you're going to be doing is being good company, right? But when they continue not to kind of get it, or they continue to come up with the same things, and you keep thinking different, well, maybe, God, maybe I'll have something else. Maybe help me with something else. And you do. And they don't. And then you do. And then they don't. And then you lose sight, because you end up more mad at them. You have to be the master of your emotions. You have to be the one. The nuance of the constant unchange, you are the one who's changing and they're not. You're the one that is becoming more invested in their solution than they are. When you find you're stuck, it's no lie. One of the basic tenets I've learned in all of this is God's made me strong. He hasn't made me a doormat. So you might have to talk to somebody else. Somebody can be a blessing to you, right? You might have to say, this is what's going on, and someone going, you gotta step back. Or what's your motive? I really want to help. No, tell me more. Tell me why. And I think in there you find it. But you support and challenge. Those are the concepts that have to go together. It just can't be all support, and it just can't be all challenge. together those is where growth comes out of. If it's all support, that's not going to do anybody any good. And if it's all challenge, I don't want to be with you either. So I hope that helps a little.
How do, like on a personal level, you know, how do you keep confidence and believe in yourself that you can be there for someone? You know what I mean? I don't know.
I think it was different when I was in college than I am today. I would say, first of all, your rock and your foundation is our relationship with Jesus Christ. It is the basic foundation of who we are. We are God's children, and God has to be that strength for us. And whether that's in prayer, and whether that's going to church, whether that is being involved with people, that it's okay to talk about God, right? So, this is really hard. This is hard stuff. To talk, being able to say, I get inspired. I'm inspired by people, and I'm inspired about my relationship with Jesus Christ. We got to be able to say that and find a place to say that in. And I think that's harder in college. Even here, right? I mean, there's, you first-year students, God, my heart goes out to you, right? It's about being cool. It's about, I know it sounds stupid to say it, but it's true. I mean, I've met with students that first weekend who got in trouble. Like, are you kidding me? Classes haven't even started. What are you doing? And all of them said, I just don't know how to do this. Now, granted, I got them strict. I got them bare, man. They're just like, don't send me home. Because, let me tell you, I get that reputation out there. I sent people home. And then I run, and they're like, the dean sent people home. And sometimes I do. Last year, what was the rumor? 12?
Yeah.
12. I sent 12 home. Prove it. It's called FERPA. Can't tell you. Can't confirm or deny. No comment. I did send people home, and I did send people home this year. And the confidence to do that is knowing what's for the greater good. And that greater good just isn't for our community, but our greater good is for the learning that happens and for them. I know it sounds contrite, but literally, I have said it. I don't know, honey, this hurts me more than it does you. And it does. Oh my God, think about your summer before you came to college. And all of a sudden, some crazy woman, and I look like crap because I didn't sleep the night before, and I come in and say, you kept me up and you get to go home. It's devastating. But it's about the resilience of knowing, one, you're doing the right thing for the right reasons, and it's for the common good. And that common good just isn't about what happens here in community. It's about what's good for them too. Tough love, right? It's about being okay to be in the presence of that. Why would I want to do this? My colleague who emailed me on Friday going, you win. Your day was worse than mine. Why would I want to do it? Because it's too powerful not to. Because this too shall pass. The students that I've interacted with, the students that I think that, I've changed their lives or it's all been good. Now trust me, I know I did. I don't have a great story of people coming back and saying, that was the best thing you ever did. Thank you so much. I wish I could tell you a full circle. I mean, maybe once, maybe twice. I wish I could tell you the great story about what happened 3 years ago and that student came and said, thanks for yelling at me. That was the game changer right there. That's not why I do it. And I can tell you it doesn't happen very much. But I know I'm different for it. I know I am. I come home, my husband says, quit being a dean. What do you want for dinner?